those youngsters at that camp that they're going to control their destiny, but they can only do it with a positive, common, great attitude. And so as they develop that feeling and trust and so forth of all of those around them who are helping them, you can just see these youngsters growing. And that's why I mentioned the 7 officers who were there for that homecoming. Oh my gosh, when they spoke, it was unbelievable.
Coming up next, Lars and Lionel are going to get into an in-depth discussion about NASCAR.
Alabama Cable Network Sports presents Football 2012, featuring high school teams from all over Alabama. We'll have live and tape delay college football games. Jacksonville State, North Alabama, West Alabama, and West Georgia will all be featured teams. Alabama Cable Network Sports on Charter Channel 80 is an exclusive presentation of Charter Communications and the Alabama Cable Network.
Waiting for something to amaze me. That's when it happened. Right in front of me.
You haven't seen it until you've seen it in Charter HD. Call now to add Charter HD for only $5 more a month and watch all your favorite programs in HD. Charter, let it all in.
Last week at Talladega, the biggest wreck of the season ended the race. 25 cars got caught up in it. It was a scary wreck. Tony Stewart ended up going airborne. Nobody was hurt, and it didn't really shake up the point system. With 6 races to go, you have 3 drivers who basically have a legitimate shot of winning the title. You have Brad Keselowski, who's in first place right now, trailing Brad by a few points. You have Jimmy Johnson, and then in third place you have Denny Hamlin. Those 3 drivers, Lionel, have really separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And so with, again, with 6 to go, it looks like it's a 3-man race.
Going back to last week's race, how do you get a 25-car pileup? What had to happen in there for that to happen?
These kind of massive wrecks, and they're called the big one, they only happen at the restrictor plate tracks of Daytona and Talladega. And they're called restrictor plate tracks because a restrictor plate is a thin piece of aluminum that has little holes in it, and that is placed in the carburetor, which then limits the airflow from the carburetor into the engine, which then reduces all the top speeds to 200 miles an hour. So all the cars can basically go the exact same speed. If these restrictor plates were not in place in the cars would go about 230, which would make it just untenable and make it too unsafe for the drivers. So this causes all the drivers to go around in tight packs at 200 miles an hour. Then when you have one driver make a mistake, and it was Tony Stewart who admitted afterward that he made a mistake where he tried to block, I think it was Michael Waltrip, and that caused Stewart to, what they say, get loose. Stewart lost control, went up the track, and at 200 miles an hour, the rest of the pack caught up to him. They had no time to brake. Boom, you have a 25-car pileup.
Question. Here we go. We've got everybody that can travel the same speed. Okay? So now, are we not putting enough emphasis on the pit crew and the people that are in his ear? Now we get lost somewhere.
At Talladega and Daytona, it really is out of the hands of the pit crew. And at these 2 tracks, because track position doesn't really mean that much, and so you can have an extended pit stop and still get back, because it's where you actually go around in the track and where you sit in the pack has to do with getting the aerodynamic draft. So a lot of it has to do with aero, they call aero push, aero pull, getting sucked into the draft, and you know, Tony Stewart is usually one of the best in the business at doing it, but he just made a mistake at Talladega.
Okay, and I'm going to get into some more questions here in a second, but how do you get 4 wide? That's the big thing at Talladega, right?
Usually you don't go 4 wide. And
why would I go 4 wide? Why is it getting 4 wide?
Because they got 4 wide going into the final turn of the race. So it's a 500-mile race. For the first 498 miles or so, they never went 4 wide, and they did it at the very end because everybody was desperate to try to get as much track position as possible, and that's when you're going to have problems. But they almost made it. I mean, they made it almost halfway through turn 4, and that's when the problem happened. If they would have made it through turn 4, it would have really been a thrilling finish, because you would have had 15 cars with an opportunity to take the checkered flag. I mean, the big one, and I wrote about this in the magazine last week, it's the great equalizer. It's something that both all the points leaders were hoping to avoid, and all of them, Jimmy and Denny got caught up in it in a little bit. Brad didn't so much. I think Brad finished 7th at Talladega, and that's what it has allowed him to emerge with the points lead with 6 races left. But now, just real quick, the 4 of the final 6 races take place on 1.5-mile tracks. If you look at the career average finishes of the 3 drivers I've mentioned who have a chance to win the championship, if you look at their career average finishes of these drivers on these 1.5-mile tracks, Jimmy is the best of all the chase drivers, and the worst of all the chase drivers is Brad Keselowski. So that's why I just got done writing a column this morning, which will be on SI.com. I think Jimmy Johnson, even though he's second in points right now, is going to run away with this thing over the final 6 weeks. Jimmy Johnson's my pick to win at Charlotte on Saturday night, and it'll be fun to talk about whether or not that pick comes true next week here on the show.
For all you parents that have student athletes that are interested in a college scholarship, Robert Viles from the NCAA is going to explain to you what you need to do to qualify.
Here at the Charter International Dateline facility, scientists have 1 foot in today and 1 foot literally in tomorrow to bring Charter customers the latest thing. Oh, it's Casual Friday over here. Like switching your phone service from AT&T, Verizon, or CenturyLink, Charter guarantees to cut your phone bill in half. Speaking of cutting things in half, where's the rest of those pants?
Watching, waiting for something to amaze me. That's when it happened. Right in front of me.
You haven't seen it until you've seen it in Charter HD. Call now to add Charter HD for only $5 more a month and watch all your favorite programs in HD. Charter, let it all in.
Oh, what's cooking?
Hey, welcome back to What's Cooking in Sports. And today we have the honor and pleasure of having 2 of the principals at the NCAA. Robert Viles, Vice President of Education Service, and Glenn Cherry, Associate Director. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thank you. How you doing today?
Well, like I always say, every day above ground is a good day.
Good day.
Listen, guys, let's get right into it. There's some major changes going on in requirements for the upcoming student athletes that are going to be looking for scholarship consideration. Let's walk through the process so we can teach our parents exactly what it is they need to do.
Okay. Basically, as a student athlete is entering high school, we want to make sure that they're academically prepared. We want to make sure that they're taking, core classes. Those classes are those math, science, English, social studies, foreign language. And making sure that those classes that they're taking are college preparatory in nature. That's going to put them, on the road to realizing their hopes and dreams of participating in the sport that they love while pursuing a degree.
That's a key word, pursuing that degree. It's so important that student athletes realize that you just don't go to school to play sports. You go to get that degree, because 20 years from now, that's going to make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the key. The key word in student athlete is the student. We want to make sure that these students are prepared, for the academic rigors on a college campus, and that they're able to transition and move on, get their degree, and possibly pursue a master's or a PhD or in whatever field that they choose.
Well, Robert, I tell you, walk us through the steps of what is it going to take for. I guess these new requirements kick in when? What year?
Yeah, well, they're starting. Now we're trying to get folks on board, but 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16 are when they really go into full effect. And President Emmert, who's been here almost 2 years now, has been very aggressive in this plan, looking at the academic readiness of the student athlete. And that first semester, that first year, that freshman year is awfully important. So he's been looking at what he's called enduring values, and he's got 4 or 5 things he's been focusing on. One is student athlete success, and that's what we're talking about right now. Number 2 is protecting the collegiate model. Number 3 is amateurism as the student model. And then number 4, the competitive equity. As you know about scholarships, facilities, and escalating salaries are big issues.
Well, I tell you, I can't begin to share with you the way my parents asked me these questions. So I felt like the only thing that I could do to give them a clear-cut, precise vision is to get you guys on the show, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Love to be here. I want to throw a question out to Glenn, and maybe this will help clarify some things for some parents and some student athletes. One, Glenn, talking with the student guidance counselor, how important is that? And then 2, how do you compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges across the board with core courses, academic requirements of the high schools?
Great questions, Robert. The first question is, how important is the school counselor? The school counselor to us is integral. We definitely have to have a partnership and a shared responsibility with the high school. The high school, we have a great need for information from them, from the high school transcript that each student has that follows them, whether they go to one high school or 4 different high schools in their high school career. Also, the need to keep up their NCAA list of courses. And that's what leads into Robert's second question. When we talk about the NCAA list of courses, whether a student completes Algebra 1, whether they complete it at Smith High School or Jones High School, Algebra 1 is Algebra 1. However, each school must have a list of NCAA courses. That's a list that we look at and determine from their school's curriculum what courses meet our legislation as being core to be certified so that these young people can be certified to compete their freshman year. So when we look at that, for a student that goes to 2 different high schools, we're going to look at the transcript from both of those high schools and look at the list from both of those high schools. So if student A went to high school A during their freshman and sophomore year, we're going to look at the list of courses for high school A. If they went to high school B for their junior and senior year, we're going to look at the list of high school B and see what they took at high school B and use those courses to certify them. So it's very important that so for every student that attends multiple high schools, we must have a transcript from every high school that they attended.
What happens when the student athletes don't meet the criteria of retention and eligibility, penalties do begin to come into play. And so I think you've seen and are beginning to see where schools are being penalized and not being able to play in postseason. And that's coming up mostly in men's basketball, where you've seen UConn and most recently Toledo, as of last week, are going to be banned from postseason play because they've not met the academic standards. So it is vitally important that we continue to emphasize what you and Glenn are talking about, and that means student athlete being academically ready.
Well, guys, I tell you what, this is valuable information, and I hope that all of our parents have been taking notes. And if you If you listen to Robert and Glenn earlier, there's a spot on their website that will kind of elaborate on what they've talked about today briefly. And guys, I want to thank you for coming out today. You don't know how valuable this information is to us. And we look forward to talking to you again.
We look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Have a great day. Coming up next, we're going to find out what's cooking with Chef Leroy.
Here at the Charter International Dateline facility, scientists have 1 foot in today and 1 foot literally in tomorrow to bring Charter customers the latest thing. Oh, it's Casual Friday over here. Like switching your phone service from AT&T, Verizon, or CenturyLink, Charter guarantees to cut your phone bill in half. Speaking of cutting things in half, where's the rest of those pants?
Waiting for something to amaze me. That's when it happened. Right in front of me.
You haven't seen it until you've seen it in Charter HD. Call now to add Charter HD for only $5 more a month and watch all your favorite programs in HD. Charter, let it all in.
Chef Leroy, what's cooking?
Gary, what we got cooking today is a beef fajita. Have you ever had a beef fajita before?
Yes, but not yours.
Not mine.
No.
Okay, well, mine is no different, no special. I'm going to show you how to go through the process of how to make it.
Okay.
Now, the beef that I have here, Gary, is skirt steak. You know what skirt steak is?
Uh-huh.
Skirt steak is kind of like part of the flank steak. It's the absolute opposite side of the meat. Flank is the upgraded version of the skirt steak.
Okay.
Skirt is a low grade version, but most Hispanic cultures they use skirt steak because it gives the meat has different fat contents in it.
Okay.
A lower fat content, so it's actually a little bit healthy.
Okay.
Than flank steak. A lot of people don't know that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw this in the pot and it's gonna just be very merry. Now, when you're cooking fajita meat, the best thing to remember is you want to separate it. You don't want it all bunched up, because the juices are going to come together and it's just not going to be a great product when it's all bunched up. Fajita is supposed to be in different strips, so we're going to move this around a little bit.
Okay.
Now, you notice I didn't add anything to the pan.
No, and that's what I wanted to ask you, Chef. I mean, first of all, what kind of pan is that?
Well, this is a
a
non-stick pan, and pretty much non-stick pans are great to use, especially if you're on the go, quick, fast, and hurry. If you're doing things on the outside, you have your little burners. You don't want to have to be scrubbing the pan because you don't have anywhere to scrub the pan. So I pretty much use non-stick pans to do all of my jobs when I get done. And I think they're just better quality. So get a non-stick pan. Definitely get a non-stick pan.
Now, when you say all of your jobs, now you do outside catering for folk as well?
I do outside catering. I do personal chef service. I do whatever you would like for me to do.
We need your website, man, so we can just start blasting it out there.
ChefLeroy.com. They can find me on Twitter. I'm Chef Leroy.
Okay.
They can also find me on Facebook as Chef Leroy.
Okay.
So I'm all over the place, Gary. I'm all over the place. So what we're doing here is we're basically stirring our meat so it can be a quick saute. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid to this because we want it to quickly steam. Then I'm going to show you how you're going to cut up your lettuce and how you're going to cut up your tomatoes for your fajitas. You're going to get this cover right here. We're going to let that feel happy.
And I'm glad you mentioned showing us how to cut up lettuce, because I try to make dishes like this at home and I don't know what to do with the lettuce. I put it on whole, I've done the whole thing, so I'm going to watch carefully.
Well, lettuce is not that tricky. Usually what I do when I'm going to shred lettuce is I keep it whole. A lot of people like to take off the leaves.
Okay.
You don't do that. All I do is I cut it in half, place it. I use my chef knife. That was a bread knife that I used, but I used a chef knife. You want to get as close to the lettuce as possible. Your hand away from it because you're not a professional. So
definitely.
And you just slowly. Now you have shredded lettuce.
Okay.
You have shredded lettuce. So as our meat is cooking, our lettuce is pretty much ready. What I did was I took our tortilla shells. These are 6-inch tortilla shells.
Okay.
Fajitas are 6-inch. If they're bigger than 6-inch, then it's considered a burrito. A lot of people don't know that as well.
I did not know that.
There you go. So tortillas are 6-inch. We're going to heat this up a little bit. We're going to take our lettuce. You like tomatoes, Gary?
I love tomatoes.
All right, we're going to make you feel happy then. We're going to add a little tomato to this as well. Now, fajitas usually don't come with tomato. They usually pepper, onions, and peppers. But we're doing a different version. We're doing a healthier version as well. Now, I know a lot of people, this is Chef Leroy's version.
Chef Leroy's version.
Yes, yes. A lot of people like peppers and onions, but a lot of people can't eat peppers and onions. So I'm basically showing them a different way how they can enjoy a dish without it. And it still tastes good.
Hey, with baseball season coming up, this looks like a good baseball meal.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So now we get our fajita meat. Oops, let's put that here. See how that bubble up? Okay. Nice. Can you smell that?
Oh, yeah.
Now, you just want to cook this pretty quickly because you want your beef to still be tender. Take your fajita meat. If you want to add some of the juice to the fajita, you can, but you don't really have to. I like to. It gives it a different flavor. It's out of our way for a second.
Okay.
A plate right there. You basically just take your fajita. You can roll it. Place that one right there. Then we're going to garnish this here a little bit.
Okay.
Get some cilantro. Now, if you're in your house, you don't have to garnish, but, you know, we like to garnish here.
Well, you know, our viewership would like to dress up their
Definitely. Definitely.
cuisine.
And there you go, Gary. Pretty much your beef fajitas, which is cilantro. Trying to keep that closed, but it's a little difficult. And you do how you eat it, fold it up, and take a bite. And
I'm definitely going to do that.
there it goes. Beef fajitas. Chef Leroy style. Without the peppers.
So everybody knows this is mine, right? So, Chef, where do you purchase the best meat?
I usually go to the farmer's market.
Okay.
I go to the farmer's market to get all my meats. Or I could go to the restaurant depot or those distribution centers.
Okay.
The meats. But
all right.
pretty much that's it.
Well, I think what I'm going to do right now is take this over out of you Paul's way and sit down and enjoy it.